Hey cousins, check in with me today. Listen, today is the 10th, but it's October and it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Along with Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I am listen, to all the survivors, you rock. But I wanted to have a conversation about domestic violence for a second, because let's table this conversation, cousins, because I am starting to see and realize that a nice percentage, and when I say a nice percentage, I mean like a good 65% of millennials have experienced domestic violence. One, not knowing how to identify it, and two, getting out of it with the skin of their teeth, but never healing from it, which brings by a whole lot of trust issues, manipulation, the whole, I don't even really believe in love and forgiveness, for that matter, because love is a form of forgiveness. Forgiveness is a form of love. So let's table that, because as a millennial, I'm going to speak for myself, but I am speaking as a millennial. I have endured domestic violence on 2 different occasions out of my adult life, dating with people. And the first time that I endured it, I took it as a form of love. And so when we don't even know what something looks like, it can look like anything. So if you never understood domestic violence, and because there are multiple ways things are explained. So as a kid, you grow up and you hear these words, but you don't know what words mean. And then you get a little older, and then the words, you start using context clues. So then it looks like this is what these words mean. So then it looks like domestic violence is a form of love, because now, for me, I took childhood traumas and I was growing up. And so what I did was, I fell in love, or at least I thought, or lust, whatever. I don't know what it was. It was lust. I do know what it was. It was lust. But at that time in my life, in my early 20s, I thought it was love. So it was real good in the beginning. Really good in the beginning. You know what I mean? It was good in the beginning. I was like, hey, we could do this. Let's do this. And then so what happens is, and what happened was, the verbal abuse starts. Because now that person, and this is for men and women, I'm not just speaking on behalf of being a woman, however, that is my experience, but this is not just for women, right? So what happens is the opposite person, because side note to that, you could be in a heterosexual relationship or a homosexual relationship or a cross-twisted, whatever is properly called, relationship. Okay, let me just put it all out on the table, because I'm not God. But with that being said, that person becomes verbally abusive. They start attacking your character. They start attacking your confidence. They start attacking your outer appearance, right? Oh, your hair is weird. Why is your hair like that? Why did you get your hair done like that? Why did you choose to get your hair done like that? Did you think about what you did when you got your hair like that? Did you think about how other people were going to look at you when they see your hair like that? The conversation kind of goes something like that. Then, again, per myself, I like makeup. I am not an ugly girl, but I like makeup. And I do understand the controversial of girls that wear makeup that don't think they're pretty, so they wear it because they blah, 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 blah. I get that. That's not my story. However, I just like makeup. Let me footnote that I did not believe I was a pretty girl until I turned about 25. So just remember, even in this is before I turned 25. This is before I walked into myself, okay? So, father not in the home. You gotta take the variables per person, right? So for me, my father wasn't in the home, and he made it difficult for me to even grow up in the scenario of having a father, if I can say it that way, right? Because here it is, I don't need nobody feeling like I'm attacking their dad. I'm not, right? This is just my personal story. So what happens is you take your childhood traumas and you think this person loves you enough to hear you, watch you cry, help you heal, help you walk over these monstrous mountains of devastation and depression that you've experienced in life, all to find out, all to learn, because you don't even find this out, you learn this in time, over time, with time, right? That this was all a matter of abuse. It was like baby stage, but it was still abuse. Yeah, 5 years in, 5 years, 2 to 5 years with any person is like, that's time invested, right? So you got time invested with people, and now anything you're doing that looks more prominent than what they're doing is a problem. The moment you're succeeding in any kind of goal that was set, now you're doing everything under the sun but succeeding, right? Because we don't see success. What we see is you're not at home, you're working too many late hours, and it becomes all these little knick-knack paddywhacks. I would like to say give a dog a bone, but listen, that dog had too big of a bone and it was too much. So again, how do you identify abuse? How do you identify abuse if you've never seen abuse in these certain magnitudes? Because I'm not saying people are not exposed to things, but even in exposure, your experience is so different. So for me, I thought abuse was a form of love. I thought it was a form of affection. Here it is for me. I identify with all love languages, right? Touch, daily affirmations. I identify with all of them. Like, give me all, okay, all around the board. But if you don't have that silver lining of understanding, then everything becomes manipulated. So then you got people that they play on your emotions, because like, hey, here it is, I'm a giver. I'm a giver. I'm a down to earth kind of girl. I got your back. We could sleep in the corner, you know what I mean, on this air mattress, and then we could save this money. We could hustle this thing together. Then you take that and you abuse that privilege, because now anything that I've worked for, anything that I've earned, you tear it up. You bust it up, you break it up. That's also a form of abuse, people. Do not be misunderstood with, well, they don't hit me. Just because a person doesn't physically hit you, if they start hitting items and busting up foundation, housing, cars, property, that's a form of abuse. So again, we have to be able to identify abuse in all its forms, right? So I was getting hit, right? At this point, I was getting hit. But I was getting hit in my legs. I was getting hit in my arms. I was getting hit in places that couldn't be seen. I might have been sore, but that's the facts, right? So this is at this point in my life where I had to really determine if what was going on was worth the situation. And was the situation worth my life? Because that is the question that comes more than once. But once you as the person, me as the person, start to acknowledge the question, then there is where you have to say, how many times did I walk past this red flag? How many times did I take this red flag and put it in my pocket and tell myself, close your eyes, make a wish, the flag is going to turn green? Okay. Again, just my story. But listen, make sure whoever you are and whoever you know, that you have the ability to identify abuse. Because if you can't identify it, then you're going to always accept it. Because it's what you think it is, not what it really is. And that is my rant for the day. But be encouraged. Know that you are loved. And you don't have to accept anything that hurts you, breaks you down, and makes you feel like you're less than what God made you to be. Check in with me, cousins.